Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a straight to the point message for you all. And I am going to really be directing this energy towards the divine feminine. However, most of you know by now that the divine feminine doesn't have anything to do with gender. So it's more of just an energy, whatever your predominant energy is. And I also want to state too, because I don't hear this enough, you can definitely be a male masculine presenting energy out in the world, right? Whatever that means to you, and still be the divine feminine when we're speaking here from a soul spiritual perspective. Okay. I hope that makes sense. If you have questions about that, let me know. But I'm going to assume that that makes sense to everybody, that it's not a gender thing. Typically, somebody that is operating from a soul level as the divine feminine, they are somebody that likes to live more out of the body in the higher dimensions, in 5D, 6D, you name it, up and beyond. And somebody who is divine masculine energy is going to be living more in the lower dimensions. Okay. So the first through the third chakra. So masculine energy, their soul's evolution and spiritual sort of trajectory, let's say, is to ascend. Okay, it's to move up, whereas feminine energy is to descend. And that may sound bad because of all the things we hear about dissension and whatever, but I don't mean it in a negative way. I just mean feminine energy needs to ground and needs to come down. We are pulling from the cosmos. So if you think of feminine birth, we literally pull from the cosmos to birth down into the 3D. Okay, so it's a very spiritual concept that I'm not going to dive too much more into here, but if you understand a lot of kind of the mystery school teachings, that will make perfect sense to you. If you're new to it, hopefully I did a good job of explaining it. Okay, great. I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I'm so appreciative of all of your support, your liking, your commenting, subscribing, all of that stuff really makes such a huge difference on a platform that is, how shall we say, fickle? That's probably not even the best word, but I think you guys get what I mean. So I'm really appreciative because I do love providing this content to you here for free. If you want to dive deeper and you're more interested in some of these teachings and some of the guided intuitive messages I receive from my guides that I am guided specifically to not share in a public domain, I do share all of that in the Patreon community, and all that information is down below. You can check out the different tiers and see what works for you. The first tier is less than a cup of coffee, and it's going to house all of my extended readings as well as random channel downloaded messages, and you get some extra bonuses in there as well when I'm guided. So anyways, check that out if you're interested. Thank you for being here. I appreciate donations. They are totally like amazing, but they're not expected because this is service. This is my light work. This is what I do. But that energy exchange of liking, subscribing, that helps me incredibly. Okay, all of that aside, let's get to the message, which is going to be straight to the point, and it's really focused on the divine feminine energy. Divine feminine energy, fighting boredom. And every time I feel this energy creep in, it's like I could close my window to give myself better lighting, but I just really love being kind of in touch with nature as I'm recording this for you. So I think I'm going to leave it. But every time I feel this energy within myself, because I'm very connected to this collective. I'm a divine feminine, and I'm very connected to the divine feminine collective, but I'm also very connected to the divine masculine collective. I am in session with you. I read for you. I get downloads for you, and so I feel the energy that moves through you as well. And I'll have like physical symptoms and sensations and things that happen. Most of us readers in these collectives, we can, attest to that we move through these energies and we are conduits for these energies. So whatever's going on in the collective, you better believe that we feel it too. And one of the ones I've been feeling a lot lately for divine feminine, it's a little bit different than waiting. And it does feel like a lot of you may just be coming out of this phase of feeling like you're just waiting and like, when is my life going to take off? When is things going to happen? I feel that there may be some that still resonate with that and still feel like they're there, but there's a lot of you that have really transmuted that. And you've come to this place of just being in 100% allowance and surrender. And you're taking care of yourself. You're doing what's right for you. You're grounding. You're really being a great provider for yourself. You're descending as the feminine is meant to do. I really, really feel that energy for the feminines, like getting their kind of needs met by themselves. And it's a really beautiful energy. But then this other energy kind of creeps in. And the best way to describe it would be boredom, because it's not quite the waiting, but it's also like, you see the big picture, you see that something's about to change, you see that something's going to happen, you know that what you're manifesting is already there and it's just circling around you, like waiting for the exact divine timing to be dropped into your lap, like everything that you've called in, you know that, but you just don't see it yet. And so in the meantime, it's almost like you feel this lack, but it's super nuanced and it's super subtle, because by all intents and purposes, you have all your needs met. You are smashing your goals. You feel really strong. You feel really whole. And a lot of you are spending a lot of time by yourself and not yearning or wanting for anything. You're not missing that, right? In fact, some of you may be having the experience of quite the opposite, where when you try to integrate, because you think you're supposed to, right? You're like, okay, well, maybe I should go be social or whatever. You try and do these things and then you like immediately regret it, or you have an experience and you're out there, whatever that means, and you can feel your vibration being threatened, right? And I don't mean that somebody's like actually threatening you. I just mean that your intention is kindness. Your intention is an open heart. And even just being in someone's energetic space for more than a couple minutes, you're going to take on thought forms, especially being sensitive, especially being a divine feminine, especially being psychic and very tuned in. You're going to start to feel these things come in, and they could kind of alter how you're feeling. And it's never like, oh gosh, this is horrible. Like, you can correct it, right? All you need is go be by yourself, do whatever you do to get back into energetic vibrational alignment, do some meditating, ground, walk around barefoot, like whatever you need to do. And you know that you can get back exactly where you need with the support of your guides and healing energy, which is always available to you. But at what cost? It's almost like some of you are starting to think, well, like, at what cost then? Like, if every time I go do this, please fill in the blank for you. I think for some of you, it might be like, well, I want to relax and I want to enjoy myself and I want to have a good time. So maybe you indulge, maybe you imbibe, maybe you drink, maybe you smoke weed, maybe you do something that used to be super normal and you didn't think much about it. And now all of a sudden, because your frequency and your vibration, it's like every time you do it, you're like, oh, like it doesn't feel good. It could be hanging out with that person, right? There maybe you have like a group of friends that you've had for a really long time, or somebody in your life that, and you care and you love this person, but every time you're there, you're just like, oh gosh, this doesn't feel good. So please fill in the blank. I gave you a couple examples, but I'm sure there are just as many as there are of you, right? Of examples of what that could be. And so there's a part of you that's like, okay, like I can ride with this. Okay, so maybe let me use my time more wisely. Okay, let me study, let me get really healthy, maybe let me get into cooking, let me take on a new hobby, I don't know, you name it. Like I see divine feminines really, maybe if they used to paint in high school, like picking up a paintbrush and doing that, or like photography, or like, I don't know, just all these myriad of things that maybe, because you have so much idle time, because you've transmuted and you've done so much healing, now your time is completely yours. You've taken your power back and you're in this like independent, autonomous space. You're like, okay, spirit keeps telling me to relax, have fun. I mean, how many messages have I given you? Divine feminine, you're doing great. Don't worry about it. Just chill, right? How many times have I said this to you? 1,000,000 times. So you're kind of like, okay, well then what do I do? Okay. And you don't want to be waiting, right? You don't want to be waiting for your manifestation. You don't want to be waiting for all the things that spirit keeps telling you they're coming. And so you're like, okay, well, let me go paint, or let me, do this, or maybe I'm going to get a pet. I've always wanted a pet and I have the time and I have the resources and the money and I feel great. So let me go do it. Right. Whatever it is. And it's just feeling incomplete. Okay. So there's almost this feeling of spirit, like, what do you want me to do? You're having me stop doing this because that doesn't feel vibrationally good. But then I can't quite relate to people when they're unwinding or having fun or playing. you know, and so you just kind of feel a little bit stuck. You feel between like a rock and a hard place in some ways. And every time that I start to get into this energy, or feel this energy come through me, I always hear only bored people are bored. And I don't know where that came from. I honestly don't know where that, or excuse me, only boring people get bored. I don't know where I heard it, because it's a really kind of like, I don't know, like shady quote. Like it's not empowering or specifically helpful, but for some reason, that's what my guides keep telling me. And so they just kind of remind me of that. It's not from them, but it's like a quote I've heard out there somewhere in the collective, and they just like throw it at me every time I get into that energy where I'm just like, I'm kind of bored. And so really what this is building in us is a deep, deep resilience and an ability to go deeper. And I know that that's what this entire journey has been about, divine feminine, your ascension, your awakening. It's like you think you got to the bottom and you just have to keep going, because it's growing this resilience rooted in this patience that is so holy. That's what I'm hearing, holy. It's like the creme de la creme that very few people in the earth plane master and are even given an opportunity to master. And for those of you that are tuning in, connected with a divine counterpart in some sort of a situation like that, this is something that you may have subconsciously wished that they would cultivate so that you didn't have to. And those of you that resonates and get it, you will know. But Spirit's like, it's the opposite. You are actually meant to be the one holding this deep, deep patience. And it comes from an open heart. And I know when we hear patience, it means, oh, you got to wait longer. I'm really not even talking about waiting longer for your manifestation or what you're cultivating at all. I'm just, there's a frequency and there's an energy to it. And it's a reframe between boredom to patience, finding a joy and a love in the simplicity, in the most simple things. And it really requires stillness. It requires surrender. It requires being okay with doing nothing. It's, you know what it's really transmuting? That energy that's so predominant, I can't speak today, predominant in the collective of like FOMO, right? These newer generations, or I should say younger generations, and the technology and the instant gratification and the you know, kind of like ADD, like all of that that's just in our culture, and it's so intense. It's almost like we are being asked to heal that. So this is a much greater mission than we could even fathom. And the culture that lines up, okay, how old are you? Okay, what are you doing? Okay, what do you have to show for it? Okay, show me this. Okay, show me that. Like, show me your papers, right? It's like so extreme. And feminines, I think it's one of the most painful things we're confronted with on these journeys is society's reflection of society, viewing the divine feminine through tainted, low frequency eyes and throwing their dirt on her because they aren't able to behold her in her truth, because they are so far away from their own truth. I mean, right? That's one of the most painful things that feminine experiences, because when you start to remember who you are and you feel your beauty and you feel your strength and you feel your ethereal, otherworldly quality, and you don't see it vibrate, you don't see it in anyone else, and you're just so alone besides other divine feminines, and you just feel so like, well, what do you want from me, Spirit? It can be one of the most hard, painful things. And then if you are still trying to interact and engage in the 3D and the projections that are thrown at you that you feel because you're divine feminine, so you feel it from others, you can feel that energy of people just, oh, so you don't like schedule? Oh, so you don't plan? Oh, you just wait for Spirit to tell you what to do? Right? You know, and like the myriad of other, I've been using that word a lot, but all the other things that people pour into us, they don't even have to say it, but we can feel it. They're like, oh, so you like are a relationship coach and you're not in a relationship? Or whatever it is, right? All the things. And 717, by the way. Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. What Spirit has to say to you, beautiful divine feminines who have been on this journey working on this, aside from this bigger sort of mission of what we're doing for the collective and how we're supporting, is this is one of those trust exercises. The divine wants to assure you that this will not last forever. This too is temporary. And this energy is asking you to go even deeper into yourself, pulling your energy back. And within that, you're going to find a well of more, like a power. You're just going to find more and more power. It's like peeling off all the layers. And that power is needed for your mission. That power is needed for the collective. And so in terms of like, I guess I want to say, noticing this energy, don't fight it. If you feel yourself feeling that way, be like, oh, hello, you. And you could, maybe you come up with a better name for it than boredom, because I don't quite feel like that encapsulates it. Because it's not like you don't have anything to do, like you're busy, you know, you got shit to do. But there's just this quietness, and the quietness comes when your karma has been healed and transmuted. It's like boredom comes when we've been living in a 3D matrix of such drama and ups and downs and chaos and pain and suffering. And all of a sudden you're not there anymore, and you can't relate to others who are, and they can't relate to you. And you try because you don't want to be ostracized, because we're still social animals. We're still, you know, creatures of social connection. But then when you're around it, it just, something feels off. And so Spirit's message is, give the world time to catch up to you. Okay. Allow your surroundings and your environment to catch up to your energy. Do not dip too lower to it. And that is what we've done our entire lives. Okay. We have dipped to meet our partners, our families, our work colleagues, right? Our friends. We've done all of this to fit in, some on large scales, some really dramatically, and some less so, right? But there's definitely a spectrum there. And we are no longer going to be abandoning ourselves. And so Spirit is saying, stay strong, stay in that space, trust. This will not last forever. This will not last forever, but it does need time for people to be able to, things, situations, opportunities, homes, travel, all of the options to catch up. And you'll find if you try to go against it and do things just because your ego's like, I want to do this now, I want this now, and you feel that kind of boredom energy creeping in, it may not be as joyful or expansive of an experience as is like a vibrational match to you, if that makes sense. So it's almost like, yeah, you can go do the thing, nothing bad's going to happen. You know, you can go hang out with those friends, but you're not going to feel enriched, and you're not going to feel like, oh, I'm so glad I went and did this. You might feel okay. You know, nothing bad may happen, bad, whatever that means, but you know, you might feel like, wow, I really might have had more fun if I just was by myself, or whatever it is, right? So, let the world do its work, do its healing to catch up to you. And in the meantime, go deeper and deeper within yourself and cultivate this deep curiosity with the world around you, with yourself, curiosity with yourself. The littlest things can make you feel so good. The littlest things. And I know you guys know what I mean, right? Just pleasure is a really beautiful place to focus and put your attention on. Pleasure. I want to experience more pleasure. I want to feel pleasure. And that can be as simple as watching like a hummingbird drink from a flower. Just the simplest things, just zoning in, getting really present, getting really still, and noticing our comfort blankets, whether they're people, substances, environments, whatever, noticing how those are actually less fulfilling than they once were, and how they don't actually match where you're at and where you're going. So it's almost like Spirit is saying you're in that in between, and you're letting go of the old ones, and there'll be new things that'll make you feel really comfortable and comforted and nourished and sustained, because that's what they were, right? All those things, that's all they were. And at one time they did feed your soul, but they just don't anymore. And Spirit's saying, don't compromise. Don't try and make them fit, because I promise you, I'm sending you more. I'm sending you a lot more. It just takes time for it to fill in, to meet and match you. And I think if you're someone like me, it might help you to have that higher perspective that you're doing so much work for the collective, no matter what it feels or looks like on the outside, no matter what it looks like to somebody who's a very 3D matrix plugged in person, and whatever their projections are. This is like a huge energy in the collective that's pretty toxic and pretty negative, and you are assisting along with other beautiful divine feminines, other beautiful light workers in transmuting and healing this, so that the children that are coming into the planet are not going to feel less than and inadequate and like, oh, well, I don't really like doing drugs, but I have to do drugs to fit in. Or, oh, I don't really like talking shit about people, but I kind of have to do that to fit in. Or this music is crap, but you know, it's what everybody likes. So I don't want to miss out. You know, all the shit, right? And I just gave like really silly like examples, but you know, it's kind of out there. Anyways, I hope this message helps. I hope it supported all about boredom for the feminine. And yeah, I'm sending you all so much love. If you're curious about things specifically relating to the twin flame, those messages are being protected right now. So they are all going to be in the Patreon community unless I am guided otherwise. But in the meantime, have a beautiful day. I'm sending you a big hug and lots of love.